All right. Well, we're recording. So, hi everyone. My name's Stacy. I'm with the Mental Health Society in their community engagement. Today, we're lucky to have transformation coach Jason Saxe join us today. Welcome, Jason. Thank you for being here.
Hello, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So, can you give us a little bit of a background on your education and any personal anything?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, in a nutshell, I went to school to be, I wanted to study criminology. I was wanting to be a cop. And then I ditched Camosun and I went to work right away. And then I found myself in a career in banking. And so my education really was in finances. And I took a lot of mutual fund course training and different regulatory training for a 14-year career in the banking industry. So I worked with a bank and I worked with a credit union. And it was an extremely rich playground of learning. I learned a lot about myself, learned how to talk with clients and with people, how to help them talk about their money, which is so personal. So a ton of learning in that. And then from there, we just briefly chatted about it, but from there, I was actually let go in March of last year. It's coming up on a year now. And inside of that, then I've done my own transformational programs. I have a coach. I have a personal coach that pushes me. And so the education is a bit more real world, not so much scholastic. It's based on the principles of subconscious mind and a lot of mental health and addiction issues. We'll get into that. Some of my learning, a lot of it is just books and podcasts and having a coach and then taking part in a really life-changing group coaching program with a person who's my mentor and my idol. And so that's been my education kind of in a nutshell.
Oh, that's great. That's quite the change.
Yeah.
Yeah. And can you tell us a little bit of like what do you do as a coach?
Yeah, of course. That's always the main question. Like, what the heck is
Yeah.
a coach
Yeah.
anyway? So coaching is pretty special to me in that it bridges the gap and can sometimes connect the dots between counseling and therapy and mentorship. So I have clients who are just getting out of alcohol addiction, and they're professionals and they're trying to figure out their way in sobriety. And they realize their professional life, their salary, and the money they make is still a reflection of their mental health and why they drank. And so a lot of my clients are like that. I also have non-addicted clients that are high-performing realtors, and they just realize they want to perform better, but they don't really know why they're not hitting the marks that they want to hit. And it's because of what's going on in their mind without even realizing it. One client of mine had a big problem with vulnerability, and some of his subconscious values weren't in line with his goals. But by working with me with really deep exploratory questions, I help him figure out his own roadblocks. And then I have a woman who's coming out of realizing there's a lot of childhood trauma that she's had, and it's getting in the way of her multi-level marketing business. Like, she's a beauty products MLM sales lady. And so you don't know where it's going to go. I just know that people want better for themselves. They have tried counseling. They've even tried therapy, and those serve a magnificent purpose, far more clinical than I get into. Obviously, I'm not a clinical, trauma counselor or anything. I do have a background in understanding it. I've gone through it myself. I've gone through my own therapy, but the coaching takes somebody where they are and helps them get to where they want to go. A lot of counseling and therapy does focus on the past and to try to really figure out the missing puzzle pieces of a person's past. And I just use that as like a small blueprint to understand maybe why the person has some tendencies they have now, but I break them free of what's keeping them trapped right now and help them get to where they want to go, whether that's romantically, financially, mentally, physically, spiritually. The gamut is huge. And that's where in a nutshell, it's kind of difficult to say exactly what does a coach do and what do I do in my coaching. So to also segue is I specialize in a lot of meditation and subconscious reprogramming, which gets into almost hypnosis to help people literally rewire their brain from the inside out. So it's pretty magnificent. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot, and it does cover like a lot of different areas,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I've helped 65-year-old women overcome their anxiety and get out of their heads, and then I've helped, like I said, 22-year-old multi-level marketing people wanting to strive forward. I've worked with high-performing realtors and um, yeah, a mix of people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
so
diverse. Any demographic, really, right?
any demographic.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a moment, I won't lie. For a moment, I wanted to really focus on men and be a men's transformational coach. But I also understanding the universe and understanding that you can't restrict what is meant to be. So I was finding myself gravitating towards certain clients and people were gravitating towards me. And really, you can't be picky when I'm a light worker. So when I want to help people and serve, it doesn't matter who you are. I just wanted to try to get it out there that men can also have this special support because, some men need it. And when they find me and they are ready to work with me, which I do work with men, then it's wonderful. But uh, I accept anybody that is willing to grow and willing to help themselves.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. And what inspired you to go from the financial career to the transformation coach?
So perfect. Yeah. So I always wanted to help people. Deep down, my goal and my desire was to help people. So I grew up in poverty. I grew up in a household full of neglect and abuse and substance abuse, alcoholism, drug addiction. Both parents have had deep mental health issues, and I was an only child. And so I always felt alone and scared. And I had this ideal of helping people one way or the other. So banking, as I fell into it, I molded it to my desire. I was helping people. I was helping serve them. I was helping them grow. And I was a really, really great advisor. But in that, I knew there was more and I just wanted to dive in deeper. So I always wanted to be a cop. So I actually trained and I interviewed with Saanich and Victoria Police because I really wanted to be boots on the ground, making a difference, thinking that would be the way to do it. But it also wasn't meant to be. So I met my mentor. His name's Jim Fortin. He's a master subconscious reprogrammer. I stumbled into one of his law of attraction courses and I took it and it changed my life because he very quickly and simply explained everything about me that I was trying to find, even in my counseling that I was doing trauma therapy, so many things that all of a sudden he, within a very short period of time, unlocked a lot of my desires, my dreams, my goals, my values, and what was my life's purpose. Something called Dharma. Why am I here? And I know that my life's purpose is peace, and my life's purpose is to help people find their peace. And so he was a coach, so I understood that that's what he did, and that's what a coach does. And I just did more research, and then I met other coaches. I got a coach, and realized this is what was meant for me. And with alignment, once you know you're doing what you're meant to do, something magical happens because you actually start uplifting people around you. You start seeing the growth within yourself, and then they grow, and it's pretty powerful. So that's when I decided, yeah, this is what I'm going to do, and it's been a fun endeavor because it's entrepreneurialism, right? It's on my own. I was almost 15 years in a 9 to 5, salaried job, and I'm out of my comfort zone every single day, and that's where the growth really happens. And so, yeah, it's pretty cool.
You can just see it on your face how happy you are talking about it. That it's
Oh,
you know
yeah, yeah, it's palpable, and that's what I just want for anyone else because you can find joy and passion in anything you do, and I think that's fantastic. And so I'm so grateful that I've found this path, um, whether I attracted it to me or I stumbled onto it. I mean, who really knows? But I'm just so grateful that I'm here.
No, that's great. I know that earlier you had mentioned a little bit about substance abuse. Can you speak about your experience helping clients through their abuse issues?
Yeah, so I personally, um, I personally had a very destructive habit of drinking alcohol to overcome a lot of my emotional problems, feelings I didn't know I had, stemming from childhood and all these things. I first drank when I was 13, and I didn't stop until I was 31. And for 2 or 3 or 4 years, it was extremely heavy, extremely damaging. And so I personally have experienced my own addictive tendencies and behaviors, and then also understanding my parents' addictions and in the education I've done around it to understand where they came from and why addiction was so rampant for them. So in doing that, online through Instagram, I've found a whole wonderful community of people wanting to get sober. And it's a wonderful little corner of the internet of like-minded people that are done struggling with a form of substance abuse. So I work with alcoholics. I've worked with people with cocaine addictions, really anything, workaholics, sexaholics, gambling addiction, anything that takes somebody away from what's going on inside of them is really what I love helping, because people think that, you know, once they quit drinking or once they quit doing the drug, that life will be better and everything's fixed. And unfortunately, that's not the case, because really the alcohol or the addiction, whatever, was just a band-aid for what they were really covering up. And so I help get to the meat of what are they covering up, because no matter what they do professionally or in their relationships, it's that stuff that's keeping them held back. So I naturally just find myself gravitating towards people who have realized that they have used a substance to cover up, emotional damage, all the different things that might come with it, like fear of abandonment, codependency, the list goes on. So yeah, it's just something that I've naturally aligned with, and it makes sense because I've personally experienced it. And there's hope. I'm 4 years sober, have not even had a lick of a temptation to drink because of the work I do on myself. And I just want to share that with others because it doesn't have to be so hard. And seeing their own inner strength and showing them how worthy they are of living a fulfilled life, is yeah, is really lovely.
Congratulations on that. It takes a strong person to overcome something like that.
It
And,
does.
and having somebody that's been through it is, way easier to talk to and get through it with somebody.
Totally. Well, because no one needs, and especially with addiction, it's very lonely when you're in addiction. And even in sobriety, it can be very lonely if you choose to allow it to be lonely. And so for sure, my goal is to say, no matter what you've been through, no matter what choices you've made, no matter what mistakes you've made, I've probably made them too. Or I've worked with people that have made them. Like nothing's off the table. And there's no reason ever to have shame or feel a fear of judgment, or anything. And the moment they can relinquish those fears of being alone, of fear of judgment, then yeah, the world opens up for them.
Yeah, I think that's a huge one, is the judgment part of it, right?
Big time.
Yeah. I know that you've kind of just recently got into this with leaving their job in March. But have you found that the pandemic's affected this at all, or are you like more clients coming on?
Yeah. So it's all I know, to be honest. I've not done this career outside of the pandemic. I'm so grateful because it's forced me to not just be in like a small social circle where I am maybe going to chamber meetings and just meeting other professionals in the city. I've worked with people in England, in Ireland, in California, in New York, all because of the internet and through Zoom. So nothing's off the tables for people that want to work with me, and that is a benefit of working within the pandemic. There have been, I think, the normal challenges that some businesses may face, in that some clients are worried about their finances, and therefore there are times when they want to do it, they want to invest in themselves, but they're also held back from that fear. They don't know if they're going to find a job. They don't know if their savings are going to run out. And I've been there, and I'm kind of right there with them, and I get it. So I'm excited for when, as everyone is, when the pandemic's done, so that sure I can go and finally shake hands and actually like meet somebody. Because preferably it would be in-person meetings. That human connection is so important. So I guess a tricky one to answer, because I haven't experienced the other side of it. But I've really enjoyed what I know the pandemic has forced us into, which is healing and into getting to know ourselves. And thankfully, because of the internet, I work with all people from all over the globe. Had a
Yeah.
meeting with a lady from New Zealand,
Wow.
which was kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
So just to wrap it up here, if somebody was looking to get in contact with you, they were
Yeah.
looking for a transformation coach, how can they do that?
So the best way, oddly, is through Instagram. My handle is at Saxe Coaching. That's SAXECOACHING, at Saxe Coaching. That's where all my material is and all my content. But then my email address is jlsax at mindfulfiscality.com. And that email is a direct link to me as well. So email and Instagram, and Facebook. So Saxe Coaching, Facebook. So those are the three avenues that someone could just reach out and drop me a message or say hello. Yeah.
Well, that was great. Thanks so much, Jason. That was great to hear about what you do and
Yeah.
how you've gotten to where you are.
Thank you, Stacy. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers.